So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about shoulder blade positioning. So if you watch, the shoulder blade, it moves in a lot of different ways, but the one we're going to be talking about is it comes forward around the rib cage, and then you can pull back together. So with both of them, it looks like this. This is protraction and retraction. I can squeeze together. I can spread them around my rib cage as I reach my arms forward. Now this doesn't mean that I'm going like this. That's going to create some issues if you get up into this motion. So if you think about this tip, shoulder blade is shaped like a triangle, and the tip down here, think about that energy coming from that tip out your pinky fingers or whatever you're weight bearing on. That's the motion. And that's going to get at the serratus anterior, which is between the shoulder blade and the rib cage. And it's a muscle that stabilizes the shoulder blade as it moves with the arm. So if you're having shoulder irritation in the joint, this is one that we want to target. And so with your weight bearing exercises, even though you're here and you're stable, what I want you to think about is pushing from this muscle around the armpits, pushing that into that mat. So then I'm not kind of letting my chest dip down, which would bring my shoulder blades together, but I'm using energy from those shoulder blades to push down into my palms. Another huge thing that I'm going to cue 100 times is do not lock your elbows. So if we come here, I'm basically just hanging into my joint. I'm not using my muscles. It's much easier, but it can cause some irritation. So we don't want it to be easier. We want it to be harder to hold because then we're actually getting the work. So in a all fours position, elbows soft, you're pushing, you're letting those shoulder blades spread out around the rib cage. And then the last cue here is try not to let that rib cage sag. So it all sort of goes together. All of these muscles are very intimately attached. And so you want to push into your palms, feel the shoulder blades kind of connect, and then this little gentle lift of the rib cage. That does not mean this. See the difference? Connected, rounded. You don't want that either. You want the spine curves to be neutral, but you want all these muscles to be connected. Now once you start to move, coming into like a bird dog position, you want all of that to stay stable. If you can't get away from going like this, see my low back? Then either you have some tight hip flexors or you're lacking a little bit of this control. So same cue, rib cage. So you want to think this pubic bone and the rib cage stay connected as you move. Now if you still can't get out of this dipping, then I want you to lower the range of motion in your leg. And that's why I like you to take some videos of yourself. So less range of motion in the leg. So now if I have a tight hip flexor, that's not getting in the way of me stabilizing through the core, okay? So smaller motions. And the last thing here is the breath helps with all of this. So I can cue myself with the breath. So I inhale, and then I exhale. I'm pushing through my hands. I'm letting that rib cage come up gently up from the mat, down toward the pubic bone. Then I hold that, I inhale. As I exhale, that's when I can reach. That exhale helps me with all of that connection. So the same thing goes for the more difficult positions like your plank. So I connect shoulder blades, rib cage, I step out, and I don't lose any of that. My elbows are still soft, lots of work in the arms still, but I'm also not rounding. So I'm not tucking my tailbone, but I'm trying to maintain that connection between rib cage, pubic bone, shoulder blades, elbow soft. So when you get fatigued, you'll start to dip down a little bit. I saw this in your videos. You want to maintain that. And when you do start to dip down, you start to lose that connection that's fatigue, and that's when you want to stop and rest. Okay?